Man back again. Give you another video on The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 9, No Way Out review. One of the most biggest, substantially in terms of crew and the amount of extras they had on set. They had 1,200 extras on set. Huge episode. I'd say the climax of this season so far. So at the beginning of this episode, we get to see Daryl, Sasha, and Abraham, as we left off, dealing with one of the main saviors. Proteges of Negan, if you will. And this protege of Negan is on the verge of killing Sasha and Abraham, while Daryl and one of his men, his comrades, are rummaging through the back of the truck to get all their supplies and give them to the Savior's men. But right before this protege Savior is about to kill Sasha and Abraham, Daryl uses an RPG to blow up all their bikes and them, killing all of them with an RPG. He ended up in the back of the truck area, ended up getting an upper hand on the guy, ended up killing him with some minor injuries. So that was interesting to see. That explosion was fantastic. They did a great job with that. Really unsuspecting as well. I was like, okay, so Sasha and Abraham are going to bite the dust, right? And then boom, badass Daryl come in. So that was awesome. So we take off from where we left off from last episode, and Rick decides to formulate a new plan of Father Gabriel taking Judith somewhere else, so she's not put in any harm's way while they're making their way somewhere else to try to thin out the walkers and get to a different area. So if you guys are anything like me and you read the source material, this episode follows the fidelity for the source material perfectly. And I mean throughout the situations and the actions that transpire throughout this episode, it just parallels to the comics excellently. So they're making their way through the herd. We also see some snippets and subplots with Enid and Glenn working their way through Alexandria again. We also see the plot progression of the Wolf and Denise. And Denise actually decides to benefit the Wolf's aid because he ends up getting bit by a walker, and which I think was really stupid. I mean, he's pretty much dead already. She has this idea of false hope that was brought upon by Morgan. So we see that play out, and inevitably the Wolf gets shot by Carol, rightfully so. Carol shoots the Wolf, kills him. Denise makes her way back, and we get to a moment in the episode where Sam is having so much fear and anxiety that he ends up panicking in all this distress. He starts crying. The walkers start getting attracted. They start ripping him to shreds, and we see that Jessie is holding on to Sam, and she's just not wanting to let go. I mean, obviously it's her son. She ends up getting bitten. Rick goes through this psychological delirium again, where he's experiencing all this loss and grief and distress. And I got to tell you, Andrew Lincoln does a great job at showing this great emotion that we haven't seen so far since season 2, or season 3, I believe, during the death of Lori. And I think he does a fantastic job, way better. His acting chops have improved since season 3. Because for me, it felt like it was more facetious crying or his emotion during the death of Lori when Carl announced it to him. You know, he was like crying in his face, but it just didn't play off well. It just came off kind of corny to me. But anyways, he did a fantastic job in that moment of disparity of Jesse's death and all that moments it recaptured, and she's gone. And she's holding on to Carl, and she won't let go of Carl's hand. And you see that moment from the comics where, in the panel where Rick gets his hatchet and he chops off Jesse's hand so Carl can get loose. We see Ron pick up a gun. He's pointing it at Carl, and just when Michonne stabs Ron from preventing him from shooting Carl or Rick, his gun goes to the side and he shoots, and the bullet hits Carl's eye straight out of the source material, because you see that shot where he looks at Rick and he says, "Dad," collapses. You see the prosthetics on his eye. It just looks so realistic. I mean, Nicotero does a great job with the makeup. Fantastic job in this episode, especially the amount of walkers they have in this episode. It's phenomenal, the amount of work they do. See Rick in all his anger and frustration picks up Carl, starts running to Denise as fast as possible, because she's the only doctor in the community or someone with that type of background. Also, we also get to see is the contention between Morgan and Carol is still thick. There is no friendship between them. There's probably going to be a subplot playing out in the future episodes that will be quite interesting to see. So I'm excited to see that. By the time Rick gets Carl back, we see him in this impassioned rage like we've never seen him before. He goes out and starts slaughtering all these walkers, and he ends up being a huge inspiration to all the other group members. Like, we need to go do this. We need to go save our community. And they start slaughtering all the walkers. It ends up not being enough, so then what Daryl does is he ends up using the RPG he used to kill the Negan's men, the Saviors, to light the whole lake on fire that he used to dump all the propane in it. So it emits this huge flame, and all the walkers get attracted, and obviously they go in it. It's a great strategic plan, and all the walkers just end up lighting on fire and just dissipating from the flame. So that's where the episode kind of caps off, and we get to see the final moments of Rick latching on to hope in his moment of almost complete disparity of holding Carl's hand. He's like, "I want to make this life better for you. I want you to see this community grow." And we see a little glimmer of hope, a subliminal message of, Carl just grasping on to Rick's hand, and it's just a fantastic moment. Then the episode ends. Honestly, I think it's a great episode. I cannot wait to see what happens next. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. One of the most profound episodes of this season.